Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we get started, are you thinking of creating a podcast or are you a podcast host already? As a podcast strategist, I can help you to launch or relaunch a purposeful and profitable podcast, which will inspire, entertain, and educate a global audience. Simply book in a one-to-one call with me right now via the Calendly link in the show notes, and together we'll focus on the purpose of your podcast. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Matthew Black. Matthew, welcome.
Hi, how you doing, Amy?
I'm very well, thank you. Shall I call you Matthew or are you going to be Matt today?
No, Matt's good. Matt's good.
All right, brilliant. Well, welcome. Here we are talking about purpose, but let's first ask you, what is it you're doing at the moment?
So I started to become the path to become a professional speaker pre-pandemic, and that was great. And that decision was driven by me looking for more purpose and direction and an opportunity to contribute on a wider scale. The pandemic changed a lot of things for me, and I got caught up doing other things post-pandemic and during the pandemic, like rescuing a bunch of startups and doing some investment and things like that. But I'm pretty much back on track with getting out there a bit more. I'm not sure being a professional paid speaker is what my destination is going to be, but if you know anything about me, my background is certainly rolling with the punches and being able to pivot and change. And I think that, it might be a big part of it, and certainly being able to speak well and engage a crowd, whether it be workshops or speaking or for example, like a podcast today. I think the skills you learn from getting out there and getting amongst and getting in front of people are invaluable, because I know I've got a message to share, hopefully some knowledge to share, and I need to be able to have the ability to do that. So that's been my journey more recently, and I'm trying to finish my third book. Yeah, that's part of the reason I wanted to get on today, to kind of chat and share about what that looks like.
So what is the message that you're looking to share and the knowledge that you want to share? Not in a nutshell. Feel free to expand on that.
So it's kind of tied into my experience and my background. So if you don't mind, I'll quickly just share a little bit of my background first, and that'll give you a bit of context for kind of my message. So I was born and raised in the outback of Australia, like the real outback. You could go across the street from my house and you could walk 3,000 kilometers in a straight line and not hit a stick in the ground or a road or anything. It was just whoosh. You go the other way, you go through a little bit of the town, but then you hit the ocean, and essentially that's where I lived. Mining towns and things like that when I was young, until I was about 14 when I left home. Very young, as you appreciate. I slept on couches and stayed with friends and one of my sisters for a little while, and put myself through high school while working at night. So super independent. Went on to college, did a degree in graphic design, and also a postgraduate in fine arts and photography. But during that time, I was, a broke student, like really broke. And I started a business because I needed to eat. At one point, I had an accident and lost my jobs at the time because, before mobile phones, you couldn't just pick up a phone and ring people. You could, you didn't have a phone in your house. You didn't have a phone. And I was flat on my back. So I lost these jobs. So I was on rice for about 2 weeks. And so I had to make some changes. I had to have something happen. So I asked around as soon as I was able to get off the bed and walk around, and I was really desperate, and I managed to secure a job picking up auto parts and dropping them off to places to fix engines. And I don't know whether it was that desperation to make sure I make money and succeed at this job, that kind of level of desperation was really, really high, that I did really well. and the boss was super impressed. And he was looking to segue out a bunch of people that were on salary doing my job and replace them with young people like me, which are on contract, save them some money, bring some new energy into the business. So I said, no problems, I can handle that for you. And I spoke to some friends at my school that were in a similar situation to me. And I nailed down 5 jobs. And I said to them, I have to do all the paperwork and the invoice and everything myself anyway. I learned this job on the ropes with, a bunch of people around me that I was essentially taking a job off one of their long-term friends. And so they hated me, didn't teach me anything. So I had to learn everything by myself. But I tell you what, I'll make your journey easier. I will onboard you. I'll teach you how to do it. I'll teach you all the rules and help you get a fast start. But for that, I'll take, 15% off the top of what you earn, but I'll do all the paperwork and everything. So they agreed. So very quickly, I was making as much money, or almost double the money, as you can appreciate straight away. And I thought this is a good thing. I like making money where I don't have to do any work. And I got myself a business mentor. And then less than a year later, I had 400 drivers across the whole of Western Australia, which is 1 million square kilometres. And so it's the size of most of Western Europe. And yeah, I did really well. I sold that company for 1.3 million at the time, which is closer to 3 million in today's money. Bought myself a bunch of houses, did some more consulting work, and essentially started an entrepreneur's career. So I was a millionaire teenager the same week that I graduated college, and you should probably appreciate, didn't go on to become a professional graphic designer as my original plan was. Since then, I've had 8 major corporations on 3 continents and worked with thousands and thousands of people as founders wanting to go from idea to launching something in the world. And for more than 15, closer to 20 years now, the only projects I've worked on are projects that inspire me, projects that drive change, positive impact on the world. Because I got to the point about 15, 20 years ago where I could just choose my projects that I liked, not having to do things because I had to, but doing things because I wanted to. And it's been a bit of a blessed life the last 20 years. But just pre-pandemic, and which is the reason I started speaking, going back to when I first started, it was because it was a purpose-driven thing. It's fine to help one founder and him and his family and his partner and mum that's loaning him some money to start a business and get it to, success. That's one thing. But what I kind of came across is the idea that a lot of the entrepreneurial tricks or the mindset or the tactics or the strategies that I use to get a bunch of people who don't know you behind you, to get people that don't know you to believe in your idea, to give you money, their time. It doesn't matter that it's a business. It could really be anything. It could be you wanting to get, a love in your life. It could be you wanting to get a foothold on the property ladder. It could be you wanting to get a job. It could be you wanting to make a difference in knife crime in your area. It could be you wanting to make an impact on the community or into the environment. It doesn't matter what the project is. The kind of mechanisms are the same. So I thought to myself, why can't I, if I can create, my biggest business was 860 million. That's a lot. That is, in the scheme of businesses, in the top fraction of a percent of businesses that get created and reach that level. There's, to give you an idea, obviously there's thousands and thousands of companies that are the billion-dollar companies, but you got to think that there's literally thousands of businesses that start every year and die every year as well. So the atrophy rate is enormous. In fact, 58% of successful businesses, by successful means they actually make profit and things, die within the first 3 years for natural causes. They just can't adapt or grow. So the ability to be able to get to these kind of heights makes me a little bit kind of confident, subtly confident that kind of the tricks and things that I've learned over time. And the reason I had to point that out is because I have no formal qualification. I'm qualified as a graphic designer. That's it. So if you want to earn professional qualifications, I have none. I only have experience. I only have experience burned into me from failures and challenges and rejection and trials and tribulations and blood, sweat and tears for 34 years of being an entrepreneur. But I think that in that kind of journey that I've made, I've got some knowledge and I've got some insights, and that's really where I was trying to go with being a professional speaker. That's what I was really trying to share. But over COVID, it came about that kind of maybe there's another medium. So at the moment, I'm looking to do this next book, which is called How to Change the World and Other Handy Tips. And there's a website launching for that soon. And it should be good. It should be good. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to wrap around the website, the ability for individuals not just to read the book, not just to maybe interact with me online, maybe some coaching, maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe some online kind of coursework. But I ultimately would love to be able to take a leaf out of my own book and enable people to then go off and train and inspire others in their community, that they can do stuff that they have no idea how to do. So this is in the kind of conversational world of I don't know what I don't know. That kind of it's unbelievable or it's unattainable. This kind of things that you say to yourself, I would love to do something about the environment, but I just don't know what to do. Well, guess what? You know, a person starting a sports company, they might be interested in sports, but actually the actual knowledge of sports is probably 1/18th of the actual knowledge that you need to start and launch a multi-million company. It's more about marketing. It's more about business acumen. Like, I can start a business in any field without any actual industry knowledge, because the industry knowledge I can buy. I can get someone, I can drag someone in for that knowledge. I can get advisors, et cetera, and people typically start it within their own realm of experience. So they don't start it because they know how to start a business. They start it because they're passionate about an idea. So the only reason I tell you that is because you probably have within your reach, within your ken, even though you have these challenges and these things you'd love to make a change in, you probably have within your reach and within arm's reach or within the ability to do that you don't believe you do. But you probably do have the ability to make change. So that's, for me, very exciting. And so this is I'm in the middle of this process right now. So I can't say, here's exactly the website. It's all finished. You can go today. But what I think one of the reasons, I jumped in on this podcast, even though it was probably, we might have been smart to do it 6 months from now, but it's going out. But I'm startup, right? So if it's not finished, it's fine. Let's launch anyway, right? So there's another lesson for you there. And this is going out just before Christmas or just in the new year. And this is the time when people start thinking about change, thinking about new direction. So it's probably timely for them to do that. Could I help them make things happen? Could I help them make that change? Could I help them drive change, whether it be your job or your life or your career or whatever it happens to be? And I'd love to be able to do that. That would be my mission.
And what I love about your story, Matt, is that you almost became an accidental entrepreneur because you had a desperate situation, you had the desire to change your circumstances, but you also had this confidence of, it's okay, I'm just going to go with this, and that really comes through, that desire to drive change, but also just to move yourself from being a sofa surfer to starting up this business. It really was a situational desire there.
Yeah, I'm very action orientated. And, you hit the nail on the head. I was an accidental entrepreneur that first time around. But I think that isn't that the way it kind of works with many things in life? I have some kids and I drag them along to karate for the first time when they have no experience of it, no idea what it looks like. And then one of my children has gone on to become like a second dan black belt. When I take one of my kids to archery for the first time, and he has no experience of what it looks like and has no idea how it looks. And he's shot for Australia, representing them internationally. in multiple countries. And so all these journeys that might result in something spectacular that people are impressed by, or them themselves get a huge amount of personal satisfaction, health and benefits and psychological benefits, whatever it is that your output is, you won't get there unless you start to take action, until you step into something, until you try, until you take the first step. I think that's my first book was The Little Black Book for Entrepreneurs. And that was about helping people get over that very, very first hurdle of, I've got an idea, but I used to always get questions, Matt, is this the right idea? How do I know this is going to work? Well, you don't, is the first answer. And you've got to start doing it. And there's lots of approaches, lean development methodology and all this kind of thing. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do to help you get started. And that's, I'm hoping to share some light on that kind of, and you should never let fear of failure get in your way. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to take the first step. They don't know how to test. They don't know how to do an iterative development, develop one little tiny piece at a time, instead of saying, okay, I've got this, I want to do an app. Now I have to just go from zero to having an app and raise like 100 grand or 200 grand and go from zero to that. No, you don't have to do that. I've got lots of stories like, selling a large charity on a concept for a new crowdfunding site. So I came up with this idea, like I think it was like on a Tuesday night, I came up with this idea and just laying in bed. And Wednesday morning I got up and I wrote on a piece of paper a few ideas, and I thought, who's the best possible customer? Or I think I know someone. I reached out to them. I reached out to two people. In fact, one said, no, I'm not interested. The other one said, yes, I'd like to meet with you and talk to you about it. I then that afternoon did 3 PowerPoint pages with roughly what the idea was. The next day I met with him and pitched him these 3 PowerPoint pages and said, this is kind of the idea. This is where I want to go. And he says, I'm saying, I would do it and you'd have to commit to about 300K to make this happen. But here's your kind of the output for you. And he said, yeah, we'll go ahead. And I said, that's terrific. Now I have to let you know that I haven't actually built it yet. And over the next 3 months, we're going to work together to build it. And he said, yes. Now that project, funnily enough, didn't actually work out. It was like 6-8 months later. We had 5 team members working on it, programming everything. And in the end, it didn't work out because it was before its time. Charities weren't kind of like in the right mindset. Charities tend to be like 5 to 10 years behind everybody else. And I mean, this was quite a while ago. This is like 13 years ago. So crowdfunding still is a bit unusual for many people that we have around us, even today. So imagine 14 years ago, it wasn't really the thing. But that doesn't take away in any respect at all whether that idea went all the way. What it's a great example of is being able to just be in action, just go out there and pitch something. The cost to me was literally 2 or 3 hours of my time, and I secured a major charity with it had a Lord as its backer, so I could have, even if it weren't successful, it would even been pitched at the level in like the House of Lords or government contracts. All sorts of fantastic stuff would have happened if it would have gelled. But that's the nature of startups, and I don't really care. Most of them fail, so that's not an issue. But the ability to be able to be in action for very little cost or no cost whatsoever and be able to secure what you need, which is the validation to be able to move forward, that's the kind of lesson that I wanted to pass on. So these are funny little things that kind of I've done that if you share something like that, whether it be a book or a podcast or a talk, all of a sudden there might be someone go, oh, I could do that. I could take that step. I could make that happen. And the aim of the kind of work I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months, hopefully it'll be like ready to go by the time we get to New Year, which is my goal, that people can then be in action and start making their ideas, their dreams, their concepts of what they'd like to do a reality.
And what I love, Matt, is that you said that you didn't have any formal training or education and that you've taken yourself on this journey. And it's almost, when you were talking about other people who are afraid to take that first step and are afraid of failure, that didn't inhibit you because you didn't know what you were afraid of. You didn't know what you were up against when you were out there in business. So knowing that where you've come, does anything inhibit you at all?
Oh, I'm much less fearful now about taking on new challenges than ever before. Stuff that would have frightened the life out of me, and I wouldn't have attempted, I do now. But I mean, that's like anything. That's like anything. If you're going, sailing on a large ocean journey with a very small boat for the first time, and you've got the idea of waves are going to be much bigger than your boat, you'll be like kacking yourself the first time you go, or even thinking about it. But if you're a seasoned sailor and you've been out there so long, it's like, it is what it is. I've dealt with it before, and I've done it. It's experiential. It's being a bit more prepared. It's being a bit mentally prepared. And I think that what I'm hoping to do is give people some lessons, some tools, some ability to be a bit more mentally prepared, to at least enough to actually take some steps. And then it's in the practice and in the doing that you get the confidence.
And you mentioned now that you've got the luxury of time. How do you qualify what you spend your time on?
Mostly it's around making sure that I can create impact that's meaningful to me, that I have a good work-life balance between, having fun and enjoying the rewards of the hard work I've done in the past, spending time with my family. So that's quite high on my priority list. But as far as doing things like that I kind of work in inverted quotes, because I put it in quotes because I only do things that I enjoy. So that's an important criteria. I need things that create impact, the type of impact I want to do. I've got plenty of opportunity to go out and work for a large corporate and make them money, or work, to have a startup be successful. I mean, in the pandemic, I took a company that was struggling. They were valued about 500K, and we took them to 6.5 million within 8 months. Bang. Boom, massive growth, massive profits, massive everything. They got investment and so on and so forth. No, that's creation of cash. That's not an issue. But being able to use those skills to that particular company was a company that was really making incredible impact at bringing good values and a higher standard of service to an industry that was about women and helping them make their choices and having control of their bodies. And I'm a big believer in female empowerment. I have a young daughter, and beyond that, even before she was born, I was attending International Women's Day. I've been speaker twice on International Women's Day. So I'm quite evangelistic about certain things, the environment being one of them, and rights, and women's rights especially being another one. But I just want to make something good happen in the world. And more importantly, I suppose, later years, is enabling others to make positive impact. That's why I've worked a lot with corporations, because I can start a corporation off, I can help them grow and thrive, and they can go on to continue to deliver good things. One of my people I've worked with is Ticket Pass with Rod as the CEO. And they came to me during the pandemic, and they talked about how everybody gets ripped off with tickets, and you pay, and there's scalpers, and there's, you don't get all your money back, and you lose money when you change your tickets, and people can't get tickets, and there's no transfers, and it's just a rort, so much of a rort. And so many people just want to, especially during the pandemic, it was like, I just want to go somewhere and to enjoy myself. I just want to support my team. I just want to, see my favorite band. I just want to do something nice. And he brought in this really sophisticated technology solution, which integrated every single charity within the UK. Any registered charity was automatically picked up, and you could select when you buy a ticket, I support this charity. Or the people that were putting the tickets out could select a charity. And some of the fees that are normally taken by Ticketmaster and put in their pocket and released onto profits were taken out of the pocket instead. Rod said, I'll take some of the money out of my pocket on every single ticket, and that'll go to the charity of your choice. And then there's the ability to do charity events, and there's no fees, and no, there's no scalping, and no, they don't have bots. And yes, you can transfer tickets, and yes, you can get the face value back, and you can't scalp it for more than face value. And really good quality, ethical choices in an industry that is just not ethical. I believe in making money, but I don't believe in making money by hacking other people's wallets. That's horrible. And if the whole system is like that and you're complaining about it, be like Rod, go and start something different. Find people like me that's going to support you, investors that believe in you, because that's what we did. And he's doing very well. Ticketpass is a great site if you ever wanted to go to an event or set up an event. He's a really good guy and you can reach out and speak to him. So these are the type of things that I like. And the founders I work with, I like. They're friends of mine. I know Rod very, very well. And it's kind of, I love building these type of relationships. But Rod is making the impact on thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people on a regular basis. How much better does it get than that? You help somebody else and then they help lots.
I agree. I mean, this is why I champion purpose from my core. It's just so important. And there's so many companies out there who think that they're purpose driven. But when you describe this type of company, you realize that they are probably just purpose washing.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the goal? I mean, you talk about work-life balance. Is it more life-work balance that you're aiming for?
The thing is, it's because I don't really think of it, most of it is not really work. I mean, there is stuff that feels a bit of a grind sometimes. I had to prepare a proposal today, or last night, actually Sunday night, as well as working, I prepared it. And it was a proposal for a company that wanted to acquire another company. And this other company was bigger than the one that was acquiring them. And they were more international, where the other one was local. And they didn't think they could do it. But I spent some time and I worked out, how we might be able to do it. And the big company was struggling. They're going to go bust, and the people that work there are going to go out of a job. And I think they fulfill an important role within the industry that they're in, bringing technology to more of an antiquated industry. It's revolutionizing a little bit. And this small company is more of a family business, bunch of friends running their business. And I like their style. And so I agreed to work this out. And when I was doing my presentation, doing the research and doing the work on it, oh my goodness, I had to rewrite contracts and I had to do this, and I had to do that. I had to do a lot of stuff, and my brain was melting. And I was like, I had my family downstairs eating, watching television and relaxing in the evening. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to take some time, just an extra hour or so, and do this. I've got to knock it out so that somebody I'm working with can have a chance to read it as well. And so those times feel like a grind. They feel like I'm giving something up, which I don't really want to give up. But as an entrepreneur, you understand that sometimes you have to work. Sometimes you have to do the work to get where you really want to go. And what drives me is having the bigger picture, having the vision of what would it be like if after 3-4 months worth of work, lots of long hours, that this company was actually acquired. So apart from the monetary benefit, I could save that company. I could save, 10 jobs and really bring this and be able to grow that online company and be able to make a bigger impact on lots of other smaller, more antiquated companies in the industry, and really bring the whole level up like the whole planet in this particular field, which happened to be, being able to connect with, people that your lost family tree and your lineage and your background and your heritage, and understanding how that all works. And for a lot of people, it's helping them understand their place in the world, understanding who they are. And so you can see beyond the kind of, small stuff into the human benefit. So for me, that seemed important. So it was worth doing that balancing act. So yeah, I mean, it's all a balancing act with your time. But I try to overarchingly be driven by purpose, driven by what I want to accomplish in life, which is, changing. It's getting bigger and bigger as I go along. I'm taking on bigger and bigger challenges, taking on a multi-billion-dollar property deal at the moment, which is very frightening, but, could create hundreds of thousands of places for people to stay in a world which is full of, in UK especially, it's very dense and there's very little homes available and things like that. So this could be really good for the economy, especially as things get tighter and people can't afford, high rent places and so on and so forth. Trying to do the right thing.
So Matt, explain to me what level up the whole planet and understanding your place in the world means for you right now.
So leveling up for me means giving, instead of giving out money or giving out advice, or, I've done whole rounds where I've invested considerable amounts of money in people, just giving grants and cash and advice. And I've done this one way kind of style, much like the government giving out money for grants or funding or whatever. That never typically works. If we go back to the old adage of I'd rather teach a man how to fish than give him fish, that kind of thing. So for me, what has always worked the best is enablement, inspiration, being able to inspire people and being able to enable them to take their own steps and their own journey and doing their own thing. That's for me far more powerful, and I'm looking for the right type of vehicles. And as I explained, there's a number of things I might be doing over the next year, over 2023 and beyond, that people will be able to get involved in. But it's about just helping them to, they've got a million different challenges, and they've got, like the founders I've worked with over the last 20 years, they've got a million different experiences and knowledge that I don't have. And that's what I depend on. I depend on that, even though I say that sports experience is very fractional in the scheme of things, it's still essential. And that's why I said if I was starting a sports business, I would get a specialist from that industry in, because industry knowledge or knowledge of the problem is really important. If you're trying to solve knife crime in Shields in a particular estate, you live there, you know it, you know the people, you know the dynamics. I don't. I can give you ways to do things, but you need to know how to apply those tools. It's a funny little thing, even though it's not, they're all like parts of an ingredients in baking a cake. They're all essential in different proportions. Can one be replaced? Absolutely. There's probably 50 people, 100 people in your area, in your little kind of community area in Shields that are affected by the same issue, but that's not important. It's you that's going to make the change. It's you that's going to be that ingredient to make a new solution, a new better environment for people to be in. There has to be someone, and why not you? Why don't you step forward and make things happen? And if I can help you get the confidence to do that, that's great. So that would be the kind of thing about leveling up. It's more about this kind of like, if I can create I hate the word generic, because they're not really generic. They're applicable to multiple situations, or they're not. Like a toolbox, you have some tools which are perfect for the job and others which, are not so much. But you wouldn't know how to, once you know how to use them, you become a master mechanic, and you become able to draw any tool out of that box and be able to fix or create whatever you need to do. So master carpenter, master mechanic, whatever you like to call it. But I'm not saying I am, but I've been there and done that for quite a while. And I'm hoping I'll be able to help others to at least become DIYers, haven't I?
So you mentioned your book, How to Change the World and Other Handy Tips. I'm curious to know, or give us an insight in a couple of your handy tips.
Okay, so and this is actually really important, because one of the things that I have been saying for a really long time to founders is entrepreneurism is not a one-man sport. It's not a sprint. It's usually a marathon. Even though I do things fairly quickly sometimes as far as growth, it's still a marathon. Even though I appear to be able to walk in just me by myself and be able to transform a business, it is a team effort. I don't do a lot of the work. It depends on the founders. It depends on their team. We work with external professionals and so on and so forth. And weirdly, I kind of learned some of my own medicine. I took my own medicine not that long ago, actually, when I realized that my book had been kind of laboring for about a year and not really getting ahead. I thought, why am I struggling so much with this? And I'm not working as a team. I'm sitting here at my desk by myself writing this whole thing. Why don't I work as a team? So what I do now, and what you'll see the results of early 2023, is you'll see the book and the site and teams of people behind that coming out, each individual professional with incredible experience in their own particular vertical or niche, working with a person that's a master in creating groups that generate collaboration spontaneous groups that collect together and actually get stuff done. That's an incredible skill that I don't have, that I've got in others. So one of the top tips is, if you can, work as a group, work as a team, harness others' knowledge, experience, skills, power, and I've done it in so many ways for so many years. I thought it was on automatic, but clearly I still have to, watch even myself to make sure I'm using my full power and my full experience. Going back to the story about being able to start off a new crowdfunding site, I chose a target almost at random, but it was fairly targeted and is in the perfect customer that I wanted. But they did have a Lord, and I knew that, and they did harness their experience to help build the platform out. And the team of people I had working for me, they were there 90% for inspiration of what the platform could do and 10% for what I paid them. And usually in the workforce, you'll find, and probably in your job, if you're listening to this, you're probably the other way. 90% what you pay me and 10% because I want to do the job. Maybe 100% what you pay me and 0 because I want to be here. So, I'd much rather be working with people in an environment where they're really inspired. They have to be paid because they have rent and they have things to do, but they want to be there. And I've had projects before where people say, Matt, don't pay me. I have to be part of this. Just don't pay me if that's going to make the difference. I said, no, I have to pay you, but it's fantastic that they're engaged. What can I say? That's the environment that I like to be around. And with the professionals I work with, like yourself, Amy, you have a knowledge and a message and a background and experience. And if I can facilitate you to get that out there, then, people do weird things like reciprocate, like invite me onto their world famous podcast and say, Matt, come and chat with me. And that's great. And that gives me all sorts of things.
And I love it. What you're saying here is just understand who you are and what your skill set is, but also understand where you then need to bring other people in. And you've mentioned Lord a couple of times, and I assume you're referring to talent dynamics in terms of the way that works.
No, what I meant by Lord was he is a Lord, a peer.
Okay. Oh, a literal Lord.
A literal Lord in the House of Lords.
Well, you need one of those in your toolbox too, always.
Well, but this is one of those things, is developing a great network of contacts important to you? I mean, I have almost the maximum number of contacts on LinkedIn. I don't chase people. They constantly fill up my inbox with, people wanting to connect with me, and I can pick and choose the types of contacts I want now, as opposed to, anybody wants to be my friend here, bring it on. Now I get to curate the people that are in my network, because they want something from me, but they want my attention as well, which is all fine and good. That as you progress, what do you want to achieve? Like at one point, I wanted to be more of an investor, and so I curated my LinkedIn. I curated the content that I did around that, around making an impact in that area. The type of events I went to, the type of places I hung out, and the type of people I associated with drove that mission. And I was successful in doing that. I had, and I still have today, people send me investment decks just out of the blue, just saying, Matt, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And these are opportunities for me to make sometimes tremendous amounts of money by investing a small amount of money and a small amount of my time. And how do I get there? Well, it's just a mission. It's just something you build. So it's just about, I don't think it's as much about, there is a trick around knowing yourself, as in, with a business, you do a skills audit. What have you got? What capabilities have you got? What assets have you got? How could you harness them? And what's missing? And what you need? What are essential elements to, like baking a cake? What essential ingredients are missing to make this kind of happen? And so there is an element of that, and that's a separate kind of thing. So don't compound the two. They are two separate things working in unison together, two separate operations. So this is where kind of sometimes clarity of how you're working is important as well, because when people collapse things down, things become blurred. And you kind of, I can't do that, but I can do this, and so it stops me doing part A because I can't do part B if they're collapsed together.
So is your mission to invest in female-founded, environmental-based, purpose-driven projects?
Are you setting yourself up for this one?
No, you champion of women's rights. You said the environment and the planet is super important to you. You're looking to invest in products. I'm just putting them all together.
Yeah. So I've specifically around women and around founders and women founders. So all the proceeds from my first book go directly to a foundation that delivers like a charity that does donations and investments into female founders, and it's about 3.5 million or so far been put into that. So I don't, again, setting up vehicles that accomplish what I want, so I don't have to do it anymore. Like, my first book was written because I kept answering the same questions over and over again, because I'm essentially lazy and I just wanted to write a book to kind of get that out of the way. And then as it kind of took off and money started coming in, I'm like, well, I don't want this money. I just did it because I was lazy. It only took me 4 days to write the book. So why would I take all this money? So, okay, what can I do with this? What's my other mission? Okay, let's push it into this. And it was relevant because this is about starting a business, and that's also about helping women start businesses, because I don't think there's enough female founders in the world. I think they come from at things from a different perspective, and I don't think they get nearly as much funding as they need. And I started this like 4 or 5 years ago when the the imbalance between females and male founders investment was really massive. It's kind of started to get a bit closer now, but it's only getting there. It's not there yet. So there's no quality in funding yet, but it's a few million. It's not going to change anything. There needs to be billions to really shift the industry. But I do what I can, and if it becomes a template for someone else doing something bigger and better, that's great. I'd like to think that I've got enough scale and enough experience to be able to say that a lot of things are true, or that they work in many instances, and that's all I could ever promise. So my background as a consultant always says, here's what I know, this is why I know it, but it's up to you to apply it. It's up to you to make it fit for you. I don't know where it fits for you or not. I can pretty much guess. I think this is the right solution, but there's no guarantees in life. There is no guarantees in life, except dying. We guarantee that that's going to happen. But what happens between now and then, that's up to you. What kind of legacy in life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life of choice, a life driven by inspiration, a life making impact? What is the life that you want? And a lot of people don't think they can get that. Just the same as people come to me and say, I've got this idea, I've got this burning desire to make change by starting this business, but I don't know how to make this first step. And is it the right thing to do? And I've been able to help people kind of make that choice. And if that sounds similar to what your choices are, well, that's perfect.
So anyone out there who is thinking, I'd love to have a conversation with Matt, how would they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to make contact?
Okay, so so one thing about being able to, here's another tip, is being able to enable people without necessarily tying up all of your resources. Now, if I get my phone number out, for example, my phone would ring off the hook forever and ever and ever, and I would feel incredibly bad, because firstly, I wouldn't have been able to function properly. Secondly, I wouldn't be able to give people the time, and I wouldn't be able to give people what they need, which is why I wrote my first book, so I could just, you got all these questions, here you go. Here's like days of my time and my knowledge that you can apply at your own pace. That's leverage, which is another trick. Being able to create leverage, being able to create replication, being able to create scalability. I think the thing that I would really like is, I'd like people in the first instance, until the new website for the book is up and running, which I will let you know what the URL is. Until that's up and running, I think people can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's if you look at the Matt Black Entrepreneur, you'll probably get me. Every time I've ever tried on somebody's phone, I've always come in the top 1 or 2. It's me there with my arms folded, looking very boss. And I know it's a very good photo. And I'm much friendlier than that, I'll be honest. I look very dangerous in that photo. But you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and that's totally fine. And that's a great way to go. And I think that with connecting with anybody, and I've given this advice before to people wanting to connect with potentially like a mentor, an advisor, or something like that, or an investor, it's be respectful of their time, get to the point, and you can be polite, but don't like tell me life story, and don't tell me like, oh, this is something. I blah, blah, blah. Thank you very much. This is what I'm interested in. What's your advice? Do you know what I mean? That's all you could ask. And don't expect, that's the key. Don't expect. If people are busy and people can't do things and they, it's up to you to chase, not the mentor to chase, not the investor to chase. It's a thing, right? So this is my only advice I could do if you wanted to reach out to me personally and directly. And the other kind of, it's yet another tip, which is it's always got to be within, and everything you do, like this is a life lesson for everything. It's with them. What's in it for me? And not you as in you that's listening to this, but you want a pay rise? What's in it for your boss? You want that beautiful young girl to go out with you? What's in it for her? What does she see for herself in taking going out with you? Is it a free meal? Is it, potential life partner? Is it someone cute to hang out with? Is someone to talk to that she can get to know? What is it you're bringing to the table? And that is important. So what's in it for me, as in Matt Black, when you reach out to me? I'd love to be able to do this. This is the impact I want to make. This, how I am about that. Especially if you're a female founder, make sure you let me know, things like that. I tend to, I know I should be equal, but I tend to favor the girls a little bit, I'll be honest. But it's, don't, if you're a guy, by the way, still apply, it's fine. But if you can, and you think that you can just go to the website and you think you can just get a copy of the book, and I plan at this point to give away like 1 million copies, the first 1 million copies of the online book, the ebook, away for free. I gave the first 1 million copies of my first book on ebook for free. I think it's been 600,000-700,000 paperback sales, but sometimes people like paper, and that's fine. And I keep the price very low on that. Again, I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in the impact. But there's people in my production chain, my publisher, and people that do distribution, and people that have to be paid as well. So there's some cost involved. If you can do that, if you can start that way, and then come back to me in 6 months' time now and say, I've done this and I've launched this, and these are some things that I'm struggling with, and that's even more impressive to me. And I'm even more likely to roll in to your project. And I think the final thing is, and I'm hoping this is not going on too long, Amy, is that what I would really, my ideal result is people that have got the book or gone through courseware or talked to friends or engaged with projects and run projects, and now have a project beyond that, which is teaching other people how to do what I've taught you how to do, teaching other people how to fish and create a life of change of their own. Now, you could be a coach, you could be a speaker, you could want to reach out to me to collaborate, to deliver workshops, to do talks in your area, to write, how to change the world, another handy tips version 2, volume 2. I'm happy for you to say, I think there's some extra tricks that I know that I'd like to share with you, Matt, that I'd like to contribute to the larger picture. And I'm really open to that. So that is the pinnacle, the top of what I would like to see. Help me enable more people, help me with more content, with more hands on the ground, with more people on the ground that are wanting to make change happen. So that's terrific to me.
I love that. So 100%, your LinkedIn link will go into the show notes, as well your URL, as soon as that's live. So I'm sure it won't be too long from now. So I'll put that in. Matt, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really thank you for your time. I really appreciate how you have shared so much, and people will feel confident to step up, to take action, to be in action, which I love that phrase, not just do, but be in action, be who they want to be in, and take action in doing that. It's fabulous. Have you got some final words for us, please, Matt?
I suppose the thing that would be appropriate to say right now at the end is, this is the end of 2022, or you might be looking at this at the start of 2023. It's a time of new beginnings. And the last 2 years with the pandemic has been nothing but trauma and disruption and economic collapse and financial crisis and cost of living crisis and everything like that. But just one last tip is that in business, in the world of business, crisis, and the bigger the crisis, the more opportunities there are. The bigger the changes that are going on, the more people need to master and hold on to and drive change for themselves. So if there's ever a time that the planet needed people to step up and do things, it's now. If there's ever a time that you know, if you're in crisis, that you need to get a hold of the right people, the right tools, the right knowledge to get you to a place where you feel empowered and stable and happy and driving forward, and even, you know, not only just happy yourself, but actually making other people happy, this is the time. For me, this is nothing short of the most perfect time, and maybe delays in getting the book have been, it's been all part of the cosmic karma of me being able to release at the right time. I don't know, but for me, this is very timely, and not timely in terms of me selling more books, but me enabling more people is what I'm about. Be absolutely clear about this. It's hard not to trust people, especially when they're saying, I've got a book out and you can buy a course, and it's very hard to trust people when they do that. But happily, if you connect with my LinkedIn and have a look at my background, my referrals and stuff like that, hopefully, if there's any doubt in your mind that this is about you and helping you, hopefully that will come through, and you'll make the changes you need to make.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.